Right, so today we're picking up where Pastor Edwin left off. We understand, even though we had a good breakfast and he spoke on Sunday, there's so much to be said about our lives together as a couple. But we're picking up today and next week two things. We're going to talk about singleness and we're going to talk about marriedness. Now, there's no word like marriedness. Yes, English teachers, I understand, we made it up. All right, we make things up here in this church, but it's only little words. Right, now, the reason that we need to look at both is, do you know the same you that is single right now is going to be the same person that gets married? It's not going to be like you get into a cocoon, you come out the other side as a butterfly ready for marriage. The same person that is looking at me now one day will say, Pastor, I met the one. Have you got a slot open? Because we want to get married. One day it's going to be you. Don't say no, it's going to be you. Now, for those of you who are single currently, that may be a very scary thought. So, Pastor, please. These are the things nightmares are made of. And I want to come to church to worship God. I want to put me in a nightmarish zone. Just bear with me, okay? It's not as scary as you think. When we think of our lives on earth, we're either going to be single or married. Isn't that right? There's no third alternative. Half single, half married. Right? Some people feel they're half single, they're half married. But we understand either they're married or not, they're single or they're not. So we look at Genesis 2:24. It says, for this reason a man will leave his father and mother. Now when he's with his father and mother, is he married to them? No. Is he single? Yes. But eventually he'll leave that single life and he'll get united to his wife. Now instead of saying the word marriage, he says the word united and to wife. Not a partner, not a girlfriend, but a wife is what God intended. So we see those two things there. Now when we look at our lives, percentage-wise, years, a thought. 25 to 33, 1/4 percentage. 1/4 to 1/3 of our life is lived single. 2/3 to 3/4 of our lives we live as a couple, married people. Yet we take so little time to prepare for what is in our life going to be the longest time. Most people prepare for marriage when they meet somebody. Isn't that so? You probably late, I want to put that out of my mind until you meet the one. Then all you can think about is marriage. You go like from, no, not interested to, I'm only interested in this. So we're going to find ourselves in those places. What are the average ages at which people used to get married and get married today? In the 1920s, literally a century ago, the average woman got married at 21.2 years old. The average man at 24.6. So they got married fairly young. 1950, the average age for men was 23 and women 20.3. Not much change there. Let's go to 2021. What do the statistics tell us there? The average age for women is now 29 years old and men 30 and a half. So a lot later. Let's project that into the future, right? Let's add 20 years onto that. With 20 or 30 years comes an increase in the average age. So maybe the average age for women is going to be like 35 and men 40. That's your children. Your grandchildren, let's push it further. The average age for your grandchildren, if we push this, maybe that the women in your family get married at the age of 45 and the men get married average age of 50. Imagine that. No, it's not going to happen. It's probably going to stay the same. But just imagine if those were the trends that happened. You're going to go like to school one day and they're going to say, oh, is this your grandfather? They said, that's my father. This your granny? No, that's my mother. All right? Scary thought that we're pushing marriage back further and further. Let's look at 3 phases of our lives. We single, married, single. Do you know that? You single, married, single. That's it. And guess where you're going to live most of your life? Single. Right. You don't believe me? Single, 0 to 29 for women and 0 to 30 for men. Is generally how long you're going to be single for. When we look at the average age which people get married. Then if you're a South African, all right, the average mortality rate for a South African is 64 years old. That's when the average South African dies. That gives you, if you're getting married at the age of 29 or 30, about 36 years of married life. Anybody here? 64 or older? You should not be alive. Just saying, statistics show you should not be alive. But of course, there are a lot of people that go past that. If you lived in America, you'd be married round about the same time. You'd be single for 29 to 30 years, but you'd be married for 48 years because the average age at which people die in America is 77. If you went over to the UK, you'd be married, or single, 29 to 30 years, but you'd be married for 52 years because the average mortality rate at which people die in the UK is 81. You want to live a long life? Not going to happen here. Go to the UK. That's where people really enjoy their life. All right, sorry about that if you're stuck in South Africa. So we're going to go for single, we're going to be married. Then we're going to be single for all eternity. Did you know that? So Matthew 22, verse 30 says, at the resurrection, people will neither marry nor be given in marriage. They will be like the angels in heaven. So the strange thing is, your marriage relationship on earth is not transferred to heaven. When you go to heaven, we become single people again. Right? That may be a little bit strange, but that means for most of our lives, we're going to be single. The problem is that single people think, what's wrong with me? Listen, you the normal crowd, the married people, they are bucking the trend. They're the abnormal ones, right? When we look at it in terms of the whole of history. So, whether we're married or we're single, that status, the one isn't necessarily better than the other, but we've made it to be so. We just need to get perspective of what our life is going to be like. So singleness is where we start, and it's where we end. But in this life, we get married for most of our earthly lives. But here's the thing. Most people are going to be married, but they spend a little time preparing for it. Think about it. How much time do you spend preparing for your career? It could be from the time you go to school, after school for a while. That could be 18 years that you're preparing for a career. How long do people prepare for marriage? A year. And we want to get the marriage right. Can you see what's wrong with this? Let me say something to you, maybe scary. You're preparing for the quality of your marriage when you're single. Did you know that? You're preparing for your married life when you're single. That's what we're going to look at. Now, we know the exception. There's only one exception to this rule. You may or may not know it. And that is ladies. Ladies prepare for their marriage when they're 6 years old. Right? So when a guy falls in love and he proposes to a girl, she's had from the age of 6 till the age of 29, 23 years of getting ready. And we as a guys what? You've planned the dress, the drinks, who's invited, who's not invited, where are we going to get married, the honeymoon, where are we going to live? He's like, I'm just trying to get through that first day. You're already ahead of me. Because women get excited about it, isn't it? And you know what's even scarier? Men, listen carefully. I'm going to give you some sage advice. They're even ready for children. They're playing with dolls. It's like, one day I'm going to be doing this. And you're like, can we just get married? I just want to get married first. Women are way ahead of us in terms of preparation. So we tend to prepare for a lot of things in life but marriage. Let's look then at the three phases of our lives on earth. Okay? We said we're going to be married or single. Two of those stages or phases, two stages of singleness. The third one is married life. So the first stage, this is single 1, part 1. This is when we can call it, we are developing and we are dependent. We're developing, but we're still dependent. This is more or less from the age of 0 to 18. Right? This is when we're growing up in our parents' homes, we're getting an education, things like that. After that, we move on to the next phase of our lives, where we are still developing, but now independently. We don't need our parents. We have chosen a course of study. Our teachers don't need to tell us, you've got to study. We're doing it for ourselves. Our parents are not telling us what to eat. We feed ourselves. So we're independent, as it were, but we're still finding ourselves and growing. That's more or less the age of 19 to 29. Then we are married. Now marriage relationship is more or less the age of 29 till 80. Till 80. So when we look at Psalm 90, it says the length of our days is 70 years or 80. The length of our days according to the Bible is 70 or 80. So let's throw the statistics of South Africa out. We can get to 80. So you South Africans can die around me, but I'm going to live Psalm 90. Right, I'm going to 80. We've got strength 90. You find somebody whose parents died at an old age, marry that guy. Okay, marry that guy, he's going to live a long life. Isn't that what we want sometimes? I'm going to be a bit scary now. Isn't it sometimes that when you're a married couple, you want to die together? You better tell me when you're dying, because I want to die with you. But I don't want you to die and then leave me alone. No. Isn't that what we want? Because of the loneliness when we lose somebody that we've shared our whole life with. So, when we grow up, even though we're single, we do have a network of relationships. We have friends, we have family. But it's never going to be the same level of relationship as when we're married. Now, we spend a lot of time navigating the singleness stage. But I want to say today, and I know it's not something really you really want to be thinking of, but during your single stage is actually when you should be preparing for married life. Right. So Dr. Miles Monroe has got fantastic teachings on YouTube about marriage. You want to go and get there. He studied it. And every time I listen to one of his messages, there's a lot to be had. So he says this. He studied marital relationships for 29 years. And then he tried to put it into practice. In the sense that he said, let's take a husband and a wife. Let's present them as eggs. Let's take a good egg and a bad egg. And he said, I'm going to try and make a good omelette out of that. And he said, when he put a good egg and a bad egg together, guess what the omelette was like? It was bad. And so he said, you cannot take a good egg and a bad egg and make an omelette. You cannot take a person that is well adjusted and prepared for marriage and somebody who's not and expect that relationship to work. Both of them have to make the marriage work. And I think that is so true. So you and I have to get ready for life. Married life. And then we need to find somebody who is ready for married life. Otherwise we're going to take, all our marriage is going to be like, is like a bad omelette. And nobody wants to be in that lifestyle. So let's look at the 3 phases of our lives on earth. Okay? We're today going to look at the first 2 phases, and that is single, stage 1, and single, stage 2. So we're looking at singleness today. The first stage is where we're developing and dependent. If you're in the category 0 to 18, we're talking about you. Okay, this is where you are at. You are growing physically. You are in the foundation phase of your life. You are getting an education. You're learning to read and write. You're developing values. Your parents are telling you, watch out for this, watch out for that. Do this, don't do that. So you don't know this stuff, so your parents are warning you. They've been through it. And so you're practicing this. You are dependent, but as you grow, you become less dependent on your parents. So you find that when you get to the age of 12, 13, You can go make your own sarmies. You're hungry, your mother, your father says, you know where the food is, help yourself. You go and do that. Isn't that right? You're developing your talents, your self-esteem, your ideas about yourself. You're getting ready for your career. You're also getting ready your faith in God, your salvation. You know, if during the age of about 18 you've heard the gospel but you reject the gospel, you shouldn't think that by the age of 19, 20 further, you're going to get saved. The things that you've been saying to God in your formative years are going to be the things that you're saying to God later. You're going to say, later, not now, I'm not ready, and you're never going to be ready. Because your heart is going to be drawn to the wrong things. Then we also experiment with relationships. Relating to our parents is automatic. But in school, preschool, we start to get a little bit clingy. In actual fact, in primary school, preschool, that's one of the most clingy stages of our life. We want this guy to be our best friend. You, my best friend, don't play with him. Because what are we doing? We're trying to establish a pecking order and how much power I have over other people. A little bit later, we fall in love and we have like a little bit of giggles and things like that. We can discover the world. You may discover sports, music, history, politics, art, food. You may enjoy your body, playing sports and things like that. Then, during this first stage, you can venture out into the world slowly, but you've always got the safety of your mother, your father's home to come back to. So you don't really marry. It doesn't really matter to you what happens out there. You can always come back, and you've got a safe place. Then we go on to the second stage of our lives. Before we get there, let me ask you, a lot of things that should be placed into your life are being placed into your life right now. Let me ask you, how are the foundations of your life? Your spiritual life. By the time you're 18, if you've grown up in church, you've made certain decisions. What is the foundation, your spiritual foundation like? What is your health like? You're going to have to live in that body for the rest of your life. What is about your education, your work ethic? What is that like? Are you studying without somebody having to tell you to study? Because you're going to get to a place where nobody's going to tell you to study anymore. Then your level of education has been chosen by you. So it's a very important stage in your life. Let's go to stage 1, part 2, where we more or less, the next 10 years of our lives, 19 to 29. So we become more conscious of our bodies. And now we know it's this thing that's going to get me married. Partly. So we dress it up. Guys, you go to the gym. All right? You want to go to the gym, and you can't wait to get to the beach. You can't wait for summer, because you know what summer is going to be? It's going to be the opportunity for you to take that shirt off and say, I'm just going for a swim. But you're not just going for a swim. That swimming pool is there. You're going to take the long way around, and you're going to take a stroll to the swimming pool. Chicks, women, sorry to call you that. Okay? I know what we're supposed to call guys, dudes. Right? You're going to look good. You're going to put on a face. Right? You're going to experiment with makeup, because you reckon guys are going to look at the eyes. I don't know if it's a guy thing. Do you know that women do a lot of things that they think is for the guys, and the guys like, I don't know what it is about lashes and braids and that. I don't know what it is, but anyway. So you start to become attractive because you're getting yourself ready for marriage. You leave the safety of school and you venture to university. And when you get to university, it can be a culture shock. Because you see other people and they're not all living for God. They're partying. They want to invite you. And you're like, I don't even know that there was such a thing called whatever. They're offering you drugs and that. They're doing stuff that you never heard people do. You'll also find a couple of people there that have got their heads screwed on straight. And their nose in their books. They know what they've come to university for. You can go on to work, or after study you can go to work straight out of school. Then you may enter into a couple of relationships with the opposite sex, and now one of them may work out and become the one that you marry. We may move out of our home, and we have to cook for ourselves, clean for ourselves. All right? You're still developing. You're not fully formed, but you are dependent of your parents. You're not dependent on them anymore. Right? By this time, most of your habits, your values have been set. If you carry on with being the person that you are in the ages 19 to 29, let me ask you this, where will you be? If you carried on doing the same thing, where will you be? Will you be any further along in life? Will you have anything to show for the time that you've been living on this earth? What will your education be like? What will your relationship with God be like? What will your physical health be like if you continued on the same course of looking after your body in 20 years as you are doing it now in this category? You see? We're preparing ourselves. Now, let me ask you this. How are you going to end up at age 29? How ready are you going to be for marriage? Are you going to be the type of person, if you were the opposite gender, you'd like to marry that person? Or are you going to be the person that you just hope somebody falls in love with you, with this stuff? Because you haven't worked on yourself. You had 29 years to get married, get ready for marriage, improve yourself, attract the best that there is, but you haven't done your best at getting ready. And yet you still want somebody, a real classy guy, a real classy woman to fall in love with you. Can you see why singleness is when we need to get ready for marriageness? So there's a lot going on in our single lives that we need to be aware of. I want to suggest to you 5 things that you need to work on during your life that needs to be in place and at a good place by the time you get married. 5 milestones. The first is your relationship with yourself. Here's the thing. It's not your relationship with God that is the priority. It's your relationship with yourself. Now you may say this is weird. The reason is you see God the way you see yourself. If you love yourself, it'll be easy to be accepted by God. But if you hate yourself, you think you're worthless, you're going to think God thinks you're worthless. You're going to project yourself onto God. You know, the psychologists talk about projection. You know what projection is? When we see in others what we're actually seeing ourselves. We think others see us a certain way, but we're actually looking at ourselves this way. We spoke to somebody, and it was one of those things where we had to say, what do you think about yourself? And then others are going to say what they think about you. And the person said, yeah, you know, I'm a failure. I'm not really going, I don't know, hey, I'm not getting it right. Everything's going wrong. And when it came time for other people, they said, are you crazy? You're fun to be around with. You clever. You've got a lot going for you. And here's the thing. What was holding the person back? Themselves. Do you understand? So one of the things that you're going to be doing is developing your identity. Who am I? What am I? How capable am I? How lovable am I? What value do I have? I don't have much value. I suck. I'm not going anywhere in life. My life is terrible. Everyone hates me. My kids hate me. My husband. Do you see? You've already made a decision about your worth. Now imagine that. You're the ugliest person on earth. Like really, you're ugly. Let's just face it, you're ugly. But you say, I'm going to be a success in life. One day I'm going to be rich. I'm going to marry somebody that's beautiful or handsome. I'm going to live in that suburb. I'm going to drive this car. I'm going to have these degrees. In actual fact, I'll probably start a couple of businesses. Has your ugliness got anything to do with your success? No. It's the drive and your belief about yourself. So you've got to form a healthy belief. And you cannot get your belief from other people. Do you understand? Decide today that you will succeed. Say it right now. As an ugly person, I will succeed. I'll be the most successful ugly person on this earth. And if you happen to be beautiful, just say, I'm going to get both right. I'll be beautiful and successful. It's a choice we make, folks. So many people are waiting for life to give them a start. Give them an opportunity. Give them a loan. Just do something with what you have. Right, what about your emotions? Women, what about your brain? Your thoughts? Ooh, women, you can live in your head for a long time, eh? Can I get an amen? Women can be in their heads for a long time. And when they come out of their heads, Hey, husbands better hope that they were thinking good thoughts, because they will come out of their head and they'll be like all angry. And the husband will be like, he won't know what happened. And she will be like, and the poor guy is like, I don't know what just happened. It was an ambush. My wife ambushed me. Now, husband, you think the solution is take me into your headspace with you when you think your thoughts. It's even more dangerous in there. So what I'm saying is, who chooses your thoughts? You choose your thoughts. And then you come out and you blame your husband. You made me think this stuff about you. It's your fault that I'm angry with you. Men, I just want to tell you, don't ever try and understand a woman. Okay? Not going to happen this side of eternity. The second, well, let me just say this. Somebody said, love yourself first, because that's who you'll spend the rest of your life with. Love yourself first, because that's who you'll spend the rest of your life with. And your husband will have to spend time with that. Number 2 is our relationship with God, having faith in God. Do you know that Adam was a single man for hundreds of years? Do you know that? Hundreds of years. The Bible says that Adam died at the age of 960. Adam was working the garden. He had named all the animals. Only after that did he give up a rib for Eve to come into existence. Only after that. So God said, Adam, before you get married, you need to first grow up, dude. You need to be able to do stuff. You need to manage this garden. You can't come in, your wife can't come into this world and you're like, honey, what should we do? I don't know what to name that thing. You understand? Adam was already leading. He was already producing. And then when Eve came, she said, this guy's got it together. He's got a plan. Look at this garden. He sorted all of this out for me. I'm glad I came onto the scene later. Do we see? So whether it's Adam or us, what we need to do is, during our singleness, there needs to be a couple of things that we get together. You can't wait for your husband or your wife to get it together later. And a very big part is our walk with God. Psalm 22, verse 9 and 10. You brought me out of the womb. You made me trust in you, even at my mother's breast. From birth I was cast upon you. From my mother's womb, you have been my God. Now, listen to this. When you come into a relationship and you're a spiritual person, you bring a lot of blessing, a lot of favor into that relationship. You understand? So only ever marry somebody who is a strong Christian. Don't be unequally yoked. Don't be married to somebody who hasn't even made up their mind as to how on fire they're going to be for God. They will hold you back. And if you've already set the tone for you that I'm going to be spiritually strong and on fire, that person is going to bring a little bit of water to your fire and put it out. Number 3 is our relationship with other people. We need to develop relationship skills. How will you react with other people? Well, your immediate family, your extended family, your close friends, casual friends, colleagues, neighbors, strangers. What do you do with people who like you? What do you do with people who don't like you? How do you resolve conflict? Are you a jealous person? Right? You've got to think about those things. Because listen, if you can't resolve conflict in your friendships, you're going to have the same problem when you get married. If you're an angry person out there, you're going to be an angry person at home. If you chilled out there, you're going to be chilled at home. You're going to be an easy person to live with. Do you understand? Now that's all happening before we get married. So think about the quality of your relationships. Well, I'm shy. I don't know how to make friends. Learn how to make friends. You've got to be friendly in marriage. Your husband wants to talk to you. Your wife wants to talk to you. You've got to have relationship skills. The problem is, when we get married, we're physically attracted to one another. That's the thing burning. Come on, amen. And then we think the relationship skills will take care of themselves. Now, there's a lot of relationship there. But the physicalness is going to change. And if we don't have the relationship strength, we're not going to enjoy our marriages. Number 4 is the management of life. Very important. What do you do with your time? Now we're looking at when you have a freedom of choice. What do you do with your time? Do you waste your time dawdling, watching TV? Or are you working on yourself? Are you going somewhere? What about your level of education? You've been given an opportunity to study. Do you study? Are you going to study further? What about your health? Are you taking care of it? Are you planning your career? Or are you hoping somebody will just give you a job? Well, I'm unemployed because, that's the situation in South Africa. What you need to realize is your school is priming you to be dependent on a job. But you're never going to get rich. You're never going to be successful that way. How about if from an early age you were taught to be an entrepreneur? Huh? How about that? Then you will be the only employed person in a climate where there's a lot of unemployment. Be careful what you're believing about the world. What about your work ethic? Are you a hard worker? Are you making the best of your life? You see, your parents can start you. Life can give you opportunities. God can bless you. But you still have to take those things and do something about it. You have to choose success between success and failure, extraordinary and mediocrity. So the question I want to ask you is, if you're in this space, has your life taken off? Has your life taken off? I mean, if you're a young adult, there are some things in your life that by now need to start taking off. And if they haven't taken off, you have to get busy. One day, you are going to want to get married. Now, I've met a lot of people like this. They want to get married. They can't even manage money. They're in so much debt. They want to get married, but they've got 100 bad habits that nobody is going to want to marry into. Do you understand? And yet one day we're going to say, I'm praying for a husband. I'm praying for a wife. But I don't know why. God doesn't want to send me. Listen, God doesn't want to send a good egg to a bad egg. That's this reason. Work on yourself. Stop praying. And that's just the reality. Listen. Set high standards. Live up to it. Don't marry anyone that has lower standards than you. You're going to go backwards in life. You marry somebody that's got high standards, is going to take you forward in life. You're going to spend a lot of time being married. Rather stay single than getting into a relationship that is wrong. Ecclesiastes 9 verse 10, whatever presents itself for you, do it with all of your might. The last one is the choices and the responses to life. So, many people feel that they're part of a system, a network, and they don't have much choices. I come from a poor family. I'm never going to be able to go to university. I grew up in a home where there was alcoholism. I'm going to struggle with alcohol the rest of my life. I'm born in the wrong place at the wrong time. You have a lot of excuses. The successful people in life weren't spared life. They triumphed despite life. And in actual fact, one of the mindsets of successful people is everything that comes my way grows me. Everything. The good stuff and the bad stuff. I use it as fuel for motivation to grow. I'm not going to always like the way I have to grow the process, but I am going to use it to my advantage. And that's what you and I need to do. You see? You're going to have some positive experiences in life. You're going to play sport. You're going to enjoy it. You're going to study hard, you're going to get rewarded. You're going to try a hand at jobs, there's going to be a financial reward. And that's going to be a simulation to do more in life. Okay, it's going to be motivation. But there are going to be some things that are going to challenge you in life. You may be born into a broken home, you don't even know your father. You may be exposed to alcohol and drugs and things like that. You may grow up in a school where people don't place getting to university. There's no premium on that. But you have to break out of that environment. You can't let your environment set the tone for the rest of your life. You've got to be a self-starter. So one of the big things in life are the choices that we make along life's way and our responses to what happens to us. There's not a single person that doesn't have a reason to have a pity party. There's nobody in this congregation right now that hasn't been wounded, that cannot say, man, I'm really just battling with this wound. Everyone gets wounded. But some people say, I was wounded, but now I'm going forward. Do you understand? That's the thing that's going to take you forward in life. So, as we close, you may know what needs to be dealt with in your life as a single person to be a good person to marry one day. And you cannot wait for those couple of months, a year or so before when you meet somebody to get ready for marriage. You've got to start now. And can I say this? Get good at being single. Get good at being single. Everything that should be developing in your life as a single person, get good at it. Then when you get married, you'll be good at marriage. If as a single person you're not a happy person, your husband and wife is not going to make you happy. I've got news for you. I married the wrong person. We're incompatible. He doesn't understand me. So what did you marry? Did you marry somebody who's going to be your lifelong marriage counselor? Husbands don't sign up to be marriage counselors. They sign up to be husbands. Go and get a marriage counselor. Get your life together before that. He doesn't want to spend time with you. He doesn't know me. You understand? You and I make other people responsible for our success, for our happiness. Well, we haven't gone on a date night. And I'm waiting for you. If he won't ask me, I'm not going to ask him. He should. Have you ever played that game? The waiting game? Yeah, you're stupid, man. Both of you are stupid. Sorry to say it like that. But isn't that true? We say they should know, if they were really invested in this relationship, they would set up a date night. And since they won't, I'm going to show them. There won't be a date night. Not realizing we're not going on the date either. Just do stuff. Stop waiting for other people. Put into your marriage, put into your marriage, put into your marriage, put into your marriage. Stop counting, he does this, she does that, and trying to balance the scales. Just go and live life. So Adam was single for a long time before Eve came along. He was a single person. Then his dad arranged a marriage for him. Right? We're going to be single for a short time. We're going to be married on this earth for a long time. So, that's why when you're single, I want to say just go and enjoy your single life. There's a lot of single people waiting to get married so they can be happy. There's a lot of single people waiting to get married, and you're putting all your plans for the future on hold because you're saying, I'm waiting for the right woman and the right man, and then I'm going to make it. Can I say, go and do what you want to do in life without being married. The chances are when you're doing it, you'll find somebody else doing it as well, and that's the right person for you. As a single person, you're not a second-hand citizen. In actual fact, if you speak to married couples, you have so much going for you. You have so much that you can do unrestricted. That if the married people today knew that, they would have done a lot more with their lives before getting married. I'm not saying it would have changed their mind. They would have still got married, but they would have used their time. Can I get an amen from married people? If I knew what I know today, I would have lived my single life. So the single people out there, go and live your life. Be a success. Blaze your own trail. Be the star that other people want to catch and dream about. All right? Stop waiting for somebody to make you happy. Say, I'm going to be the catch of the year. I'm going to be the most eligible bachelorette in Randfontein. When word gets out that I'm available, people are going to say, wow, somebody like that is available. You're going to have to turn them away. But it depends on the quality that you bring. Don't be that rotten egg. Nobody wants to make an omelette with a rotten egg, especially not the good eggs. Amen. Let's pray. Father, we want to thank you for your word. Thank you for the understanding that it gives us to the perspective we should have about life. Now we want to pray, Father, that you bless your people, the single people, the married people. Both of those states are a blessed state of you if we understand where we are at in life and what's supposed to be happening. We ask you for these things in Jesus' mighty name. Amen.